everyone, this is Amanda from devotioninaction.com, and we're in Philippians 2 in our Joyful Service series. I'm from Southeast Texas, and I've made this cutout of Texas, and I'll link to a PDF of that for you in the comments. But I just put a little bit of Scotch tape on the back of this to kind of help me hold it in place, because I'm going to use this as kind of blocking off this section of the Bible so that there's white space where Texas would be, and I'm going to paint around the edges of the Texas. This week we saw an incredible set of circumstances. Here I've made an accordion tip-in of pictures from online and just cut them out from a PDF. I can link that below in the comments as well. And just trying to raise some awareness of all of the amazing servanthood that's going on in Southeast Texas right now, and the gigantic need that is still there for more people to be shining servants. I'll link the devotional that goes along with this kind of I heard somebody say online the other day, the heart behind the art, and I think that is awesome. It's fantastic. I had something underneath my Bible helping me to keep that binding flat while I put that Texas on there, so I just scooted those out so I could go ahead and paint here, holding down the edges, and I'm just using simple watercolors. These are like Crayola watercolors from my kids' art supply. Yep, see, I don't have fancy watercolors. I want fancy watercolors, so maybe someday. But right now, I'm just now getting into using watercolors at all, and I am having so much fun playing around with watercolors. So I'm going to use like blues and purples, probably 2 shades of blue and a purple. And what I want to do is I don't want it to be super wet. So I don't want to start with a wet surface. I want it to, because I don't want it to run underneath that Texas that I've got masking there. Now, if you have a sticker maker or whatever, you could, I guess, print this out on, print the Texas out on label paper, or cut it out and then run it through a sticker maker, and it would be stuck down, and you could use as much wetness as you wanted. But I've also got that Joyful Service on the other side of the page too, and I don't want it to run all the way over there. And on the right side of the page, where there's still an empty margin there, I'm going to be doing the entry for Philippians 3, because this is a small book and the chapters are shorter, and so it's going to have like 3 entries across this 2-page spread. So here we go with the lightest blue. I'm going to work lightest to darkest here, and I'm just taking kind of a medium-sized flatter brush and just kind of getting a little bit of that light blue on there and coming around the edge. I just want to create that lined edge of that Texas, always working out. If you sweep your brush in toward the Texas, there's more of a chance for you to get it underneath the edge of the Texas. So you'll see me kind of move my finger there. I'm trying to get it where you can see what I'm doing there. Holding down that edge, but always coming out from the edge of the Texas, and bringing that just around the edge of the Texas. I chose blue because I don't know if you followed anything that's been going on in Southeast Texas this past week. It's been on the national news. It's been on the Weather Channel, and there was severe, like once in 800 years kind of severe flooding in Southeast Texas this week because of the way that Hurricane Harvey made landfall and then stayed and just spun over the top of them. And this is where I am from. I'm from Beaumont, Lumberton area, right in the little corner where Texas meets Louisiana, that corner of Southeast Texas. And the stories and the pictures that have been flooding my Facebook feed are just heartbreaking. People who've never had a drop of water in their houses before had up to their roof line and lost absolutely everything. Cars, vehicles. There were helicopter rescues and people getting in their boats and rescuing their neighbors, rescuing strangers they didn't know, risking their lives in turbulent waters to pull people out and save lives. Other people, like my sister, became trapped by the water in her church, which is serving as a shelter. Now, she could, get in and out of the church, but she couldn't get home because of the water. And that suited her just fine, because she has a servant's heart, and she spent all week serving the people at her church as a shelter. They had, I believe, over 400 people at one point. They still have 100 people or more. This is not over a week later. There are still people with 6 feet of water in their house a week later. So they still need help and will need help for months, for a year to come, this is going to be a gigantic effort to restore and rebuild Southeast Texas. So I hope that you can find it in your heart to do something to help out these people. And I will also link to a PDF below that gives some ideas of organizations that I have a personal connection to, whether it be churches that I know someone at or individuals. One of my best friends growing up, her brother, Darren Monk, is mounting a gigantic, he has such a vision to help the people of Southeast Texas, and they are taking, they're moving toward $5 million worth of supplies that they have a vision to bring in money to help Lumberton rebuild. He's traveling all over, making connections and getting help to people who need it in this time of devastation. So there are lots of people down there doing amazing things, and you can be a part of that. Praying for them, donating to the cause, sending donations down, or going down to help the rebuilding efforts. Now here I've got the two blues and the purple kind of shooting out from Texas there, and I'm using my heat gun to kind of dry that quickly because I'm impatient, and so I like my heat gun quite a bit. And then once that's dry, I'm just going to pull up that little paper Texas that I made, and that is honestly just normal copy paper, printer paper it's not cardstock, it's not anything. I wanted it thin so that I could fit it into the spine of my Bible there where the pages meet. So then that Texas goes away, and we have our white space Texas here with the watercolor coming around it. I'm going to take a red micron pen and make a heart over Southeast Texas here. I want to go ahead and make that because I'm going to outline the shape of Texas in a light black, like a thin black line, and because I don't want it to be perfect. I just want it to be kind of this organic looking artsy fartsy outline of Texas, but I don't want to go through the heart. I wanted to see where the heart was so that I can go around where the heart is. I don't know why. It just was like how I pictured it in my head, I guess. Getting into that spine was a little difficult, so you kind of have to move the Bible, flatten it out a little bit, get into that spine. And then I looked at it and I thought, I want two of those lines, kind of not right on top of one another, just not perfect, but it makes it a little more organic looking. So there you go. That's the main part of it. That's the Texas with the watercolor and the heart. Now, I had printed out on just one sheet the stuff I needed from the tip-in, and so you'll see me put that in a moment. There's a little word art that I wanted at the bottom here. So what I'm writing is, as Christ served, we serve. As Jesus loved us, we love. And I just thought this was such a good sentiment from Philippians 2, because it talks about how Christ was a servant for us. Oh, and in the word love, I made the O a heart. There you go. And made little hearts over the eyes. And now I'm just anywhere there was a downstroke in the cursive, I'm going to thicken those downstrokes. So as you're coming back over and looking at this, is like a simple way to make your writing look kind of like calligraphy or word art. This is uber easy. Anybody can do this. When you're writing, if you'll make your letters just a little bit loopier, it's a little easier. Unless you have super loopy handwriting anyway, but I don't. I have terrible handwriting if I just write something, so I have to think about it a little bit while I'm writing it the first time to try to make it a little more legible and loopy. And then as you're writing it, picture where your pen came back toward you, down the page. When it comes down the page, then you're going to thicken just those downstroke lines. And when you do, you get this cool effect. It kind of stands out from the page, and it looks a little bit more like calligraphy, a little fancier than just writing it on the page, which I kind of really like. And it doesn't take very long. You're just coming along doing those downstrokes, and it turns out really cool. So there we go. That's a tip for you for word art. In Philippians 2, it talks about how Jesus was a servant for us, how he poured out his life serving mankind. He's God, and yet he didn't say that his prestige and his natural, innate worthiness of being praised and honored and respected. He didn't reach out and grasp for that, but he humbly came to earth and laid down his life as a servant for us, and we want to follow his example and do that. And that is, we're just getting a masterclass in this, in doing all things without complaining and arguing from the people in Southeast Texas right now. They have joyfully been shining servants. And so this tip-in is a whole bunch of pictures of people helping people, being God's love in bodily form to the others around us. So I'm going to make sure that's dry, the word art, make sure that's dry so that when I close my Bible, it'll be fine. And that tip-in kind of pulls out, but it flattens too. Here's what I used. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe.